This is English shorthand dictation number 200 and the dictation speed is 120 words per minute. Ready? Start. Sir, I am very glad that my honorable friend has brought forward this adjournment motion which enables the government to place before the House the facts with regard to the paper situation in this country. Sir, in the speeches that have been delivered in this House, some very harsh things have been said about the government. The government is accused of being callous, of being selfish, of having no consideration for the educational institutions of this country. I merely propose to place before the House the facts as they are, the reasons which led the government to issue this order, the steps that the government has taken in order to ease the situation immediately and for the future. Sir, I would like to begin by pointing out to the House that there appears to be a certain misunderstanding about the nature of the order which has been issued by the government. Member after member has risen in this House to suggest that the order passed by the government in fact means that the government claims 90% of the paper production for itself. I would like to tell the House that that is a complete misunderstanding. The order passed by the controller of paper is not a requisition order. It is an order which in turn says that the manufacturers of paper shall be bound to hand over to the government 90% of the paper that they produce. The order is what I may call a freezing order, and I want to tell the House that the difference that I am making is a real difference. It is not a difference without distinction, because the order tells the paper makers that they shall not sell more than 10% of their production to the public. It does not in turn say that they shall deliver 90% of the paper to the government. I think that is a very fundamental and a very real distinction which the House should bear in mind. The second point which I want the House to bear in mind is that the order is served on the paper mills. It is not served on the stockists who have a large number of stocks of paper already in their godowns. Secondly, it is still possible for the public to satisfy its requirements by getting such paper as is still available in the stocks which have been stored and holded by stockists before the order was passed. The third thing which I wish to remind the House about this order is that it is possible under the order as it is framed for the controller of paper to permit the mills to sell more than 10%. There is no bar, there is no impediment, no obstacle placed if the controller of paper, notwithstanding the order that has been passed on the 5th November, finds that it is possible for him to release for public consumption more than 10% of the paper. It is still open to him to do so. Having explained to the House what is actually involved in the order issued by the government, I would like to apprise the House of the immediate circumstances which compelled the government to pass this order. Briefly, the facts are these. In the first 6 months, that is, from April to September, our demand for paper, which is put forth by the Central Stationery Office, amounted to 34,000 tons. It was found that the mills had already delivered about 16,000 tons of paper to the government on behalf of the Central Stationery Office. The House will bear in mind that we had entered into a contract with the paper mills for supplying us 26,000 tons. If the honorable members enter into a little arithmetic, it will be found that as a result of our calculations for the first 6 months, it was found that we had only 9,000 tons to get under our contract from the paper mills and had to run 6 months yet. Consequently, what the government did was this. The government revised its estimate in the light of the circumstances that had been disclosed during the previous 6 months. The second thing that the government did was to consolidate the method of requisitioning paper. Here I would like to tell the House that before the order was passed, there were two methods by which demands for paper on behalf of the government were put forth. One way was the Central Stationery Office demand, which was a demand on behalf of the central government, and the provinces of Bengal, Assam, and the Northwest Frontier Province and the central provinces. The other was the non-central stationery office demand made on behalf of the provinces, which presented their demands independently of the central stationery office. Then there were Indian states, security printing, supply department, and non-state railways. It was found that these two independent methods of requisitioning paper for the government created a great deal of difficulty in arriving at an accurate estimate of the total demand for paper, and consequently the first step that was taken was to consolidate these two channels of demand into one single channel, and the whole matter is now concentrated in the hands of the Central Stationery Office. As I told the House previously, when the situation was found to have grown somewhat perilous on account of the excessive use of paper and practically overdrawing over the contract amount, we revised the estimates and centralized the demands. On the basis of the production of the mills during that year, it was calculated that the mills would produce 48,000 tons during October and March. It will be found that the government demand of 42,000 tons represented 87% of the mill's production during the 6 months. Roughly, it was 90%, and that is the reason why the order maintained 90% as the figure. Now, the House will understand why it became necessary in November to issue this order. I want to tell the House the measures that the government has taken in order to increase production of paper. Of course, as the House will realize, it is not possible for the government to help the paper mills in the importation of additional machinery in order to enable them to increase their production. The difficulty of shipping is quite well known, and it is quite beyond the powers of the government to do anything in the matter. Consequently, we have to work out whatever we can to increase the production of paper within the means which are available to us. I would like to draw the attention of the House to three things which the government has done and which could be usefully referred to as measures taken to increase production. The government has appointed a paper production officer whose duty it is to find out ways and means by which production of paper could be increased. Secondly, the government has cut out non-essential luxury varieties of paper and has restricted the government requirements to only a few easily manufactured standard qualities.